Good afternoon. This meeting of the Napa Valley College Board of Trustees is now called to order at 4:34 p.m. We welcome members of the public. Instructions on making public comment are posted in item 1 on the agenda. We will ask at each item if there is public comment. And let's see. I asked Catherine, can you please do roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Let's see. Student trustee Soto Gonzalez.
Here.
Trustee Rios.
Here.
Trustee De Luna.
Here.
Trustee Baldini is absent. Trustee Iverson.
Here.
Trustee Goff.
Here.
Trustee Dodd.
Here.
And Trustee Baker, you're here.
I am here. All right, so next we have the Pledge of Allegiance. How about Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez? Would you like to lead us in the pledge, please?
Oh, sure. Okay. I will stand tall. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the
United States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, then. We are now moving on to adoption of agenda. And do we have any changes or additions to the agenda as posted?
None that I know of.
All right, if no one has anything, then we will adopt by a consensus. And that means that we are ready to go into closed session. So for a public comment on closed session, at this time, the board will devote a total of up to 15 minutes to hear comments regarding closed session agenda items. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. I do know that we received a letter that was posted in the agenda, and I will read that out into the record. Do we have anything else that you're aware of, or just this one?
No, I do not see any hands raised at this time.
All right.
We do have attendees.
And just so we're clear, the items that we're going to be discussing in closed session are public employment, conference with labor negotiators, conference with real property negotiators, and public employee evaluation. I believe this item is that we've received the comment on is with regard to conference with labor negotiators. So this is Napa Valley Union of Classified Professionals statement to the Board of Trustees regarding progress on NVC UCP district negotiations. The Napa Valley College Union of Classified Professionals wishes to express concerns and frustration at the progress of current contract negotiations. These concerns are outlined in the context of specific areas of ground rules and protocol. NVC UCP district negotiations that were agreed to on February 16, 2021. Following are illustrations of some of the areas we are struggling with. We hope to have the opportunity to elaborate on these and other areas that are problematic. Ground rules. Bargaining sessions shall be scheduled by mutual agreement and can only be changed by mutual agreement. The times agreed upon shall include break and caucus times. Comment on that was we only have 1.5 hours scheduled every other week for district negotiations. The union has communicated that this is not sufficient for progress. We have been informed that there may be opportunities for expanded meetings yet to be determined. Ground will be prepared for each bargaining session. Comment. Proposals and counter proposals need to be submitted in timely fashion in order for both teams to prepare for meetings. Some district proposals arrive less than 24 hours prior to scheduled meetings. Ground rule, respond to requests for information in a reasonable and timely manner. Comment, a request for information, primarily financials, was originally submitted on April 13th, 2021. Information has been coming through very slowly and piecemeal. The last information was received May 25th, 2021. Ground will be open to various options and solutions. Comment, district negotiators have dismissed a proposal without discussion. In addition, district counter proposals to compensation matters are woefully inadequate and inequitable. These are not in the spirit of this ground rule. protocol. Office of Human Resources will try to distribute minutes within 48 hours. Comment, we have only received one set of minutes for the meeting that occurred on April 4th, 2021. Those minutes were received on May 28th, 2021. Respectfully submitted by Valerie Moll, Membership President, Napa Valley College Union of Classified Professionals. So thank you for that. We now have that both read into the record. It is also in board docs for the permanent record. So now we are ready to move into closed session, and we will be returning at 5:30 on the dot. It is 5:33, and the rest of them will catch up with us, I'm supposing. So public session is resuming at 5:33 p.m. And let's see, the board in closed session approved the following hires. These are both academic administrators. Dr. Douglas Marriott is our new Senior Dean for Career Education and Workforce Development. His initial contract will begin on July 19th, 2021 and ends June 30th, 2022. The step placement range 19, step C on the administrative confidential salary schedule. Additionally, we have Tyler Downey, who has been appointed as acting dean of DSPS and testing. His contract start date is July 1st, 2021 and contract end date December 31st, 2021. With a step placement of range 18, step B on the administrative confidential salary schedule. So welcome to those two new people. And let's see now, where'd I go? Here I am. We are ready for public comment. So this is for general public comment. The public comment opportunity is governed by the State of California Brown Act. By definition, this is an opportunity to hear concerns, perspectives, and differing vantage points. The board is not able under the Brown Act to engage in any level of conversation or discussion, but we look forward to this opportunity to gather community input. At this time, the Board of Trustees will devote up to 15 minutes to review comments of the Board of Trustees regarding any subject not appearing as an agenda item for this meeting, but over which the board has jurisdiction. The public may request that the board place an item related to the business of the district on a future board agenda. No action or discussion will occur at this time on such items, and each comment shall last no longer than 3 minutes. I do have one comment that was submitted that that I can read into the record. Do we have any other comments before I start this one?
Yes, we do. We have, it looks like 2 people wishing to speak.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead and let the 2 of them go first then? And then I can do this last one as we finish up. So,
okay, I'm bringing in Christine Pruitt.
Hi, my name's Christine Pruitt. I'm an English instructor, currently secretary for the Academic Senate and the Learning Outcomes Coordinator on campus. I'd like to make a public comment in support of my colleague, Dr. Eileen Tejada. I've known and worked with Eileen for 11 years. During that time, she's been one of the most dedicated faculty members at NVC, committed to educational access for all students and striving to improve the college each year. Our campus benefits greatly from Dr. Tejada's knowledge and experience. She has a PhD in anthropology and social change, having done extensive research and writing in socio-cultural theory, the history of indigenous peoples of Puerto Rico, and resistance to European colonialism. As Academic Senate President, she works passionately to create an equitable community, constantly seeks input from everyone, and repeatedly demonstrates her dedication to serving the college's mission and values. I'm in awe of the courage she displayed at last month's board meeting in speaking out about the racist behavior she experienced. I know it was not easy for her. I know it caused her pain to voice it, and I know others felt her pain. I have heard several colleagues share that they too have experienced racism on our campus. They have felt disrespected or ignored. Some have not been able to verbalize their discomfort or did not feel supported in doing so. I ask the board to make a commitment to our community that we will not silence those who are brave enough to shine a light on racism in the moment and who care enough to help us learn. I hope we will be a campus that encourages all individuals to speak out about their experiences with racist behavior, both past and present, so we can better recognize what it looks like in the 21st century and embody anti-racist practices. I heard it described in an equity training yesterday. We all make mistakes. We have implicit biases. We walk through the world and pick up things on our shoes that we don't know are there until we lift up our foot to inspect the bottom. Once we learn they're there, then we can do better. And to Aileen, please know that we appreciate you and we are honored to work with you to make this campus a better, more inclusive place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pruitt. And you said that we have a second person?
Yes. I'm bringing in Hope Scott, counselor here, and Christine Pruitt is a professor here on campus.
Hi, good evening, trustees and NVC community. I just want to say that I want to support and agree with Christine's statement and her public comment. And I would also like to make a statement. So as a faculty member at Napa Valley College who has extensive training related to equity, anti-racism, and privilege, I would like to address the incident that occurred at the Board of Trustees meeting on May 13th when our Academic Senate President, Dr. Eileen Tejada, was repeatedly interrupted and silenced. Although Trustee Baker and the other trustees did not feel that their actions toward Dr. Tejada were racist, the impact of their behavior was palpable and reinforced larger systems of oppression against women and people of color. The defensive responses that were displayed by every trustee, except for Trustee DeLuna, revealed deeply entrenched patterns and behaviors that are common among white people when confronted with realities that don't match up with our own experience. Aspects of dominant culture, such as individualism and colorblind ideology, make it difficult to understand or see how our behaviors reinforce and connect to histories and practices that silence and invalidate the experiences of people of color. I have also become defensive when faced with the reality of my limited and privileged perspective as a white person. Because defensiveness is such a normalized and pervasive behavior pattern for those of us who identify as white, it's imperative that we go through training to help us become more aware of our behavior and to unlearn racialized socialization that we are often unconscious of. Members of the Board of Trustees in their leadership roles have a responsibility to participate in anti-racist training that specifically addresses defensiveness and requires personal self-reflection of their own identities and culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. And do we have any other live comments?
No, we do not.
All right, then I'm going to then read into the record a letter that is also connected to board docs. This was received June 8th, 2021. To the Napa Valley College Board of Trustees. During the Board of Trustees general meeting that occurred on May 13th, 2021, Dr. Eileen Tejada was giving the Academic Senate year-end report when a trustee interrupted her repeatedly, then called for a vote to disallow her from completing the report until the end of the meeting. The vote was carried without discussion and with just one dissension. Dr. Tejada later identified this as part of a racist behavior pattern which she had seen among the board. We wish to express our disapproval of the board's response to Dr. Tejada's assessment of their behavior. Each trustee, Trustee DeLuna excluded, attempted to use their respective power and privilege to deny and invalidate Dr. Tejada's assessment, whether or not they were consciously aware that this was what they were doing. In failing to seriously consider why Dr. Tejada felt compelled to give her assessment, the trustees demonstrated a lack of understanding and sensitivity to the very issues of equity and inclusivity that they wish to support. In keeping with the board's resolution of student equity and inclusion passed August 13th, 2020, which affirmed its collective commitment to dismantling structural racism. We request that the trustees participate in anti-racist professional development training so that they are given the necessary tools to examine how their personal roles may be supporting racist structures. Respectfully, the White Caucus Discussion Group at Napa Valley College, and signed by Joshua Morello, adjunct faculty, physics, instructional support specialist, mathematics, Hope Scott, counseling faculty, who also just spoke, and Gross, communication studies professor emeritus, Star Bastet, admissions and records assistant, Mary Manning, financial aid specialist, and McCormick T. Hamilton, administrative assistant to the Division of Arts and Humanities. So thank you for that as well. So if we have no other public comment, then we will close public comment, and we are now moving on to reports. However, before we move into reports, I have a report, I guess. I want to address, it's actually a good segue, I suppose, because following the interchange between the board and Dr. Tejada at our May meeting, I've been putting a lot of thought into how best to proceed to correct our processes and address ongoing relationship building and communication between the board and the Academic Senate and other constituent groups. A few days after the meeting, I received a letter from the Executive Committee of the Academic Senate outlining their concerns, much of which repeated this evening. And I responded to that letter with a commitment to work on 3 different areas, including some procedural, to ensure that our meetings include fair opportunity to bring concerns, perspectives, and differing vantage points to the board for all who participate. And I also committed to working on the board's relationship with the Academic Senate and faculty in general, and our relationship specifically with Dr. Tejada. So I'd like to provide just a brief update as to where we are in this process and where I hope we're going. Regarding procedural changes, the intent behind these changes is to make certain that our meetings are organized and timed well so that individuals making presentations and members of the public who have interest in items on our agenda will have a reasonable expectation of when their item will be presented. So I also want to make sure that our agendas accurately reflect what will be presented and that the record of our meetings also accurately reflects what is presented. So to that end, first thing you may have already noticed is that we're changing our practice on closed session. Closed session will end on time at 5:30 from now on. If we're not able to finish items on the closed session agenda by that time, we will return to closed session at the end of the meeting, and we will be doing that this evening. Second, beginning next month, so July, we will be asking the constituent representatives to do a couple of things. First, we will ask you to please try to limit your reports to 5 minutes. If you anticipate that you'll need longer to report on a specific project or concern, you can please contact me ahead of time or contact the president's office so we can agendize it separately. And if your report unexpectedly starts to run over 5 minutes and does seem like it's getting long, we may ask you to hold the remainder of your report until the end of board action items. Finally, if you're reading from a report or have a visual presentation you wish to share, these documents should be submitted to the president's office for inclusion with the agenda and public record before the meeting. Regarding the board's relationship with the Academic Senate and faculty, I've been in conversation with several board members, in fact, I think all of them, administration, and Dr. Tejada and Christy Iwamoto. And I believe we have a good plan for moving forward. I've established an ad hoc committee to work with Dr. Tejada and her team to develop some plans for a joint retreat and training for the Board of Trustees and representatives from the Academic Senate. Dr. Tejada and I discussed the makeup of this committee and together decided that the board representatives will be myself, Trustee Iverson, and Trustee DeLuna. And finally, regarding the board's relationship with Dr. Tejada, I personally feel very positive about our current direction. From my conversations with her over the last month, I can say that we're both equally committed to a positive outcome. And this is going to be a work in progress and it will be ongoing. The communication channels are open and we are moving forward. So with that, Dr. Tejada, I would like to invite you to please give your report this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Baker. I appreciate the comments, and thank you to my colleagues who presented tonight. I want to say thank you, and how much I appreciate the validation of my assessment, and also the humanizing of who I am in the world, that I am a person with feelings. And I look forward to not just a positive relationship, but one that transforms Napa Valley College into a much more equitable institution. I see a lot of common ground to ensure that that happens. So, good evening, trustees, President Kraft, colleagues, and the Napa Valley College community. Tonight, I open my report by acknowledging that Napa Valley College is located on the unceded lands of the Michoal, the Mitsul, the Mayakma, and the Patwin people. I am giving my report from the unceded land of the Ohlone. And as I give my report tonight, I wish to invoke their love, courage, and integrity as the daughter of the Taino African Alliance in resistance to the colonization and white supremacy which birthed me. My people from Borinquen stand in solidarity with them and all who wish to stand in resistance to injustice and white supremacy everywhere. I wish to give the Board of Trustees an update on the IEPI grant, but before I do that, I am very excited to welcome Dr. Patricia Van Leeuwen Monsami. I am looking forward to creating a more equitable and welcoming campus and to working with you in that venture. You are the embodiment of a desire of my colleagues from the 1990s, and some of them are not alive to see the fulfillment of that desire. And so I just wish to welcome you and to let you know how excited we are to have you as the Napa Valley, as part of the Napa Valley College community. So now I can go into the IEPI report, which I want to just update the Board of Trustees on the IEPI grant that the Academic Senate, working with the Office of the President, has secured. So the Academic Senate is excited and anticipating the total IEPI funds of the $250,000 to create a permanent, effective infrastructure for faculty professional development. Funding for professional development and the institutional structures to support it, I'm sorry, I knew she was going to do that, to support it have been inconsistently available and subject to the economic ebbs and flows of the economy. So as the Academic Senate Instructional Design Institute research team is compiling the data and report to include into the plans that will bring the three major pieces of faculty professional development and learning under the Teaching and Learning Center as funded by the first IEPI grant. We are looking forward to sharing the research with the Board of Trustees, and I'm actually requesting that at the August meeting, Trustee Baker, if we could be a line item to give not just a report, but also how we're planning to engage the Partnership Resource Team, the PRT team, when they come to visit. So I'd like to share the results of the report, which are in response partly to the SEAL report as well, how we're going to triangulate that data and use that data to help the team that's coming help build an infrastructure that is effective and that continues to meet the needs for faculty professional development and learning. So that's the the first part of my report. The second part of my report has to do with concerns that were communicated to me by the faculty co-chair of the steering committee. The first one the first concern has to do with the amount of time and the lack of faculty presence now on the writing teams. And so we once again are requesting that the administration reconsider its decision and give the faculty co-leads reassigned time to complete the ICER. One of the faculty members sent me a report that said they spent 53 hours on working on the ICER. That is equivalent to a 3-unit class. So the work is commensurate with some reassigned time. Second, there are two important concerns that are emerging as we work on the ICER. The first one is that Napa Valley College does not have a consistent campus-wide procedure to evaluate effectiveness of processes and/or practices, some of which have to go through the collegial consultation process, that is the mutual agreement process. Second issue is that board policies seem incomplete. Not all BPs have APs to implement. For example, we currently do not have an administrative procedure for accreditation, even though the Academic Senate Task Force submitted initially approved a draft. We cannot evaluate the effectiveness of a procedure if we don't have an established procedure. The good news is that the Senate and the Office of the President can work together to address these issues before the visiting team arrives. We actually have an opportunity to do that. The Academic Senate leadership is committed to working collaboratively with all the leadership of Napa Valley College to ensure that our accreditation is preserved. So those are the concerns that we have. This concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tata. Ask a quick question. When are we expecting the visit from the accreditation team?
I believe that we have a year. It's in a year and in the fall. Dr. Warnall would be able to answer that better.
Okay. Thank you very much. 7.2, we have Administrative Confidential Senate Report from Dean Robert Harris, President.
Good evening, everybody. First, the Administrative Senate endorses the ongoing progressive actions to improve the commitment to sensitivity and understanding of the diverse nature of our campus community, our faculty, staff, and administration. So we are wholeheartedly behind the process, as we have been since the inception, and we look forward to moving forward to make our campus a better campus and a more inclusive campus. Second, I'd like to welcome Dr. Patricia Leward-Munsami. Haven't met you yet, but look forward to doing so in the very near future. And finally, Administrative Senate would like to note that we will miss the steady leadership of Bob Parker as the Vice President of Administrative Services, and then also the departure of Eric Haug as IT Director. So that concludes my report, and thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right. Associated Students of Napa Valley College report. This is President Marcus Texan. Is it Texan? Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a Texan too, but not that kind. So welcome. This is your first meeting. And do you have a report for us?
Yes. Good evening, trustees, Dr. Kraft, college administrators, faculty, and the college community. Before I continue to the current events, I would like to reflect on the previous term. At ASNVC's last session under President Jimenez, ASNVC Resolution 03-21, which honors NVC faculty for their work throughout the pandemic, was passed. I would like to apologize for not having it available at today's meeting, but I'll be willing to present it at the next BOT meeting or forward it to you, Trustee Baker. Now moving to current events within the past week, I have met with former President Jimenez, Dr. Ron Kraft, Ms. Angie Moore, and Mr. Oscar DeHaro regarding the counseling department and possible improvements, if any, for the next generation of college students or current students. I have also contacted RIPI regarding data collection to help provide quantitative data to aid in this process. Additionally, I have met with Mr. Ben Quesada and again, former President Jimenez regarding steps moving forward dealing with the position of president and appointing ASNVC members to reach quorum. A vacancy application review committee will be assembled to keep appointments equal and transparent, and a vacancy candidacy application period will occur over the next several weeks to appoint ASNVC members. It is our goal to have a fully functional board by the end of July. And lastly, we will be meeting with a college lawyer next week to begin creating new ASNVC bylaws, which have been delayed for the past several years. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so then next we have Classified Association Report. Ms. Valerie Mull, President.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank our trustees for taking the time to consider our concerns. And I want you to know that you will be receiving full documentation on the issues that we described. I am afraid that once again this month we're saying goodbye to a few more classified professionals. Spencer Faylor Ward, winery lab technician, started his career at Napa Valley College on May 1st, 2018, and his last day was June 1st. He was with us for 4 years. Courtney Jory joined Napa Valley College as an administrative assistant in the Library and Learning Resources Center on November 9th, 2018, 3.5 years ago. Her last day was May 31st. We wish them well. And although the individual that I would like to speak about briefly was once a classified professional, I want to offer my sincere congratulations to Ramon Salceda on his appointment as Associate Dean for our TRIO programs. I've had the pleasure of working with Ramon for 19 years and am confident that he will continue to serve our community and our students in many new and exciting ways. So good luck, and I will miss seeing you every single day, Ramon. The classified professionals are finalizing our elections and look forward to welcoming back some of our current officers and a few new ones as well. This changing of the guard will occur in August, and we are using all resources available to ensure a productive and smooth transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mull. So now we have Classified Senate Report. Martin Shoemaker, President. I think I saw him here somewhere.
Can you hear me? Okay, sweet. I would like to thank Martha Navarro. We had that graduation at the end of last month. It was phenomenal. I was really impressed. And it's been a bumpy year. It's been a long year, but you know, at the end of the year, that I think that's what counts the most, because we got a brand new set of 2.0s and 3.0s to venture forth, and I think I'd like to thank all my teammates on NVC as a job well done, and I'd like to say goodbye to Eric and Bob, because I hear we're leaving them, and and happy summer. Thank you so much.
Marty, let me see your hat.
Oh yeah.
I like it.
Bam. Represent.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Next, we have Faculty Association Report. Ms. Christy Wamoto, are you present?
I'm present.
Yay.
I personally just want to give my support to my colleague, Dr. Tejada. I look forward to working with Dr. Tejada, the district, and the Board of Trustees, led by Trustee Baker, to find ways for us to move forward together with respect and shared goals. I want to congratulate our new administrative hires, including a special congratulations to my colleague, Tyler Downey, who is taking on a new and exciting role. And I also want to wish Dr. Parker well. I believe that we've worked well together, and you will be missed. I wanted to say a quick congratulations and welcome to Marcus Texan, who is our newly elected ASNVC president. Marcus and I have worked together on accreditation writing. Holly knows what I'm talking about. And I look forward to working with him in this new capacity as well. And of course, the big news. The faculty has voted on the 2021-2024 contract, including the salary proposal, and the contract has passed with 92% approval. And while we still have a lot of work ahead of us, we feel that this is a great step forward, and we hope that the BOT will see fit to approve this contract as well. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Iwamoto. All right, so now we have President and Cabinet reports. So Dr. Kraft, I believe you have several people that you have to bring to the front.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate the comments up front. We are probably going to restructure if there are longer kind of agendized pieces under the president's report and cabinet reports. We'll go ahead in the future and agendize those to kind of follow suit with the reports. And so you can expect that. First, I want to, this is in no particular order, but I do want to send my congratulations to faculty, staff, administrators, and students for what I will term an inspiring year. Not only was I in awe of how the college pivoted and addressed each and every item and focused on students' success the entire way, but the quality of education that students received and the support they received was outstanding. I know this directly and I can relate to you because that is not the case at many of the community colleges in the system. They struggled mightily to do what we did. And so I wanted to share that with you and echo Marty's and other folks. It was a good semester. I'm looking forward to a summer, but I think we did well. The commencement was fabulous, and there are elements of this commencement, which was a hybrid, that I think we want to retain when we come back. So, and we've heard from students, faculty, and staff how much they enjoyed it. A special thank you to everybody who were out there for 3 hours, clapping and doing all of that, and that was wonderful. Second, I'm going to bid farewell to my good friend and colleague, Bob Parker. It has been tremendous to work with you, Bob, and as all of the president's staff, especially cabinet, we work as colleagues and we mentor each other. So I appreciate all that you've shared and taught me as well, Bob. And Eric is on his way. I talked to him today in a few weeks. It's the kind of the nature of the business. The good news is that I get to welcome Dr. Patricia Van Leeuwen-Munzani tonight. She's joining the president's office as the DEI senior director, and I'm very excited about that. We've begun our conversations, and I asked her just to say hello because she's so incredibly wonderful at communicating. We'll give you 2 minutes, Patricia, and just say hello so people can put a face with the voice in the face, if you will. You're still muted. There you go.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Well, I want to say I am so honored to be appointed to this position as Senior Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Napa Valley College. I'm really humbled that I was chosen, and I am very excited to bring my diverse set of experiences to this job and to work with all of my colleagues there and the Board of Trustees to make Napa Valley College a very equitable and inclusive space for students as well as faculty and staff, and also to build networks with people in the community to also tap into diversity efforts at the level of the city as well. So I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. I've been spending my time since I started doing reading and listening and learning as much as I can about Napa Valley College so that I can really be informed when, as I develop my diversity, equity, and inclusion plan for the college. So thank you to the search committee and to the board for my hire. And I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. We'll give you a little hand clap. Everybody's very excited about that, and that's good. Next on the agenda is a brief foundation update from Jessica, and she's out there somewhere. There you are.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm here. Hi, good evening, Dr. Kraft and trustees. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present. It's a really good opportunity for the foundation to be aware of what's going on at the college and to share the latest with what we're doing. I want to thank everyone for participating in the online auction. For those of you that did, it was a success. It was our first auction. And it was really good in attracting new audiences and getting the word out on the foundation and the college and starting to create some community partnerships. Our scholarship ceremony, as you know, did not happen this year. So instead, we worked with financial aid and have posted a video on our website that recognizes the awardees and the scholarships and also has a nice introduction from our board president as well as Dr. Kraft. The main item that we're working on right now is starting a strategic planning process. It's truly very, very important that we go through this right now. And we're in the information gathering phase at this point. And we've sent out surveys to everyone. I believe each of you received one via email. And I just hope you'll take a moment to fill it out and send it back to me. You don't have to get every question, but it really will help inform our mission and vision statement as we craft it for the future. And the foundation wants to be relevant and we want to meet the true needs of the college. So this is a great way for you to communicate with us on what those are. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really gratifying, I think, for the board, many of you have been here, to see the reemergence of the Napa Valley College Foundation as very vibrant and strong. And I would say, in quotes, becoming a real player in the community and in the county. So, and a lot of that's due to you, Jessica. So thank you so much. Next up, I missed this little piece, but Christy, I want to thank you and the Faculty Association for your endorsement and passing and of the proposed contract, and very excited. And 92% is a really good number. I'm very thrilled with that number. So thank you for all the work you did personally and in our meetings as well. Next up would be, I think we're moving to accreditation, which is Robin is out there. There you are. Dr. Warnell is out there. Thank you.
Yes, I am here. Jim, let's see, I sent in a presentation. Okay, thank you very much, Catherine. Jim is not available this evening, but is lurking behind the scenes, and I've been meeting with him basically every day recently. So just a brief update, if you could advance the slide, please. Thank you. So our second drafts of the ICER, so that's the Institutional Self-Evaluation Report, those were due on May 21st. And Jim and I are in the process of reviewing the drafts that have been submitted. Following our review and discussion of each standard, we've been meeting basically every day for a couple of hours to go through the second drafts. We will refine the responses to first eliminate redundancies across the standards, then incorporate consistency and strengthen the draft of the ICER. Other activities that we have planned for the summer include completing the draft of all portions of the ICER. Our writing teams have written the responses to the standards, but there are other required components of the ICER, and so Jim and I are working on those. The Accreditation Steering Committee will review the third draft after Jim's and my review and refinement. And then we're hoping to have time to embed evidence directly into the third draft that will be shared with the Accreditation Steering Committee as well as the campus community. I wanted to respond to Trustee Baker's question about the anticipated date of the site visit. So last we have heard from the ACCJC regarding this. Our site visit will be the week of October 10th, 2022. And that is what I have.
And as we all know, thank you, Robin, in our world, October 10th, 2022 is next week. It seems to go like that. So it will be here before we are even ready for it. Thank you. And finally, public affairs and communications, and then I'll call on cabinet separately and round robin real fast. And forgive me, we've met so much cabinet that I'm not clear what you're presenting tonight, so you're gonna have to help me out here. Go for it if you can, Holly. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Kraft and trustees. If you could open that file, Catherine, for me. I just would like to give you a brief update on some of the things that we've been working on in public affairs and communications. Go to the next slide. And this really is a brief update because if I shared everything with you, we'd be here all night. Next slide, please. Thank you. So some of the campaigns we've been working on in May and June, obviously a lot of work around graduation, enrollment in general, but I know that the board had asked about our efforts around bilingual marketing, and so I wanted to share some of the programs that we're doing to focus on that. Additionally, Pride Month, and then we've been doing some work to focus on the Napa Valley Vintner Scholarship, which is an opportunity for students to get very large scholarships, $5,000 to support their efforts and to increase diversity in the wine industry. Next slide, please. So this is just an example of some of the stories that we've had in the news recently. These are all related to graduation. You can see the front page story about our graduation ceremony itself, a story about our first gen college student, Oscar Loyola, who was our valedictorian, and another story about Kyler Thompson, who was one of our first 2 students to graduate with a degree in LGBT studies. Next slide, please. So commencement, we have been focusing on that on social media. We put together a social media kit, which we shared with students and faculty and everybody else. And we got a lot of play with that, a lot of excitement. People had a wonderful time and really enjoyed celebrating and sharing their stories. Next. We put together a photo album here. Where there were about 40 or so photos that really highlighted the day and showed some of the decorations of the cars. And so a lot of students and a lot of staff and faculty who were there posted great photos, and we accumulated those. And thank you, everyone. Next. So these are a couple of samples of the bilingual enrollment campaigns that we've been doing for summer 2021 and fall 2021. And of course, when I say we, Ali Shull, our digital marketing communications specialist, she and I work very closely together on all of this, and she just does a tremendous job. Next, please. Here's another example. This is starting college. Next, I'm just going through these quickly to show you. Another one. Next, please. And then Pride Month, and we collaborated with our LGBT club on campus. As you remember, at the last board meeting, the Board of Trustees passed a resolution celebrating the month and also agreed to put the flag up. And so we posted these pictures of that. Next. This is another example. This is that same story that I shared that was in the newspaper. We also posted that story because we wrote it on our newsroom website. And so then we shared it out through social media. One of the things that we try to do is when we have a great story like this one, and Kyler is just a phenomenal story in so many ways. She also works with our food bank and our basic needs center and has done so much work on campus that we take that story and we try to repurpose it as many times and as many places as we possibly can. Next, please. Just another example, this is actually the flag from downtown Napa, but again, celebrating it. And if you can go to the next one, another thing that we've been really pleased with is a lot of our social media is getting picked up and being reposted by the Chancellor's office and others. And next. We also use this opportunity, you may remember, we've shared some videos with you that have been done in career education to promote all of the various programs that they offer. And so we use this opportunity to promote the program for LGBT education. But I'm not going to show you the whole video, so go ahead. This is the scholarship that I mentioned. And again, we've sent an email out. We identified students, sent an email out, and we're doing a paid social campaign to try to attract as many students to this opportunity as possible, since the deadline is June 30th. And next. And finally, the website. We had our kickoff meetings this week. So it's feeling very real. At the last board meeting, you approved the contract for us to move forward with Modern Campus, Omni CMS. We had a meeting with the Modern Campus team, and today we met with the designer, and we are ready and raring to go. And I'm really, really excited about what's going to come out of this. It was really a fun meeting to have a designer who knew what guided pathways and meta majors was, and had some great ideas. So we'll have something, about 6 weeks or so to be able to share with you, I think. And that's just visuals. I'm not promising a website. That'll take a little bit more time, but I'm very excited that we are moving forward with this, and we'll have a website that students will be able to access and find the information they're looking for. And that's all I have for you this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly. You can clearly see from the big picture, the board, you see this iteration from what I would just call messaging to deep dialogue through social media and branding, and we're clearly headed that way. You can kind of feel the difference, and this is only going to continue. My dream is that we someday have a deep dialogue with every student. Every student feels like they have a dialogue with the college in some personal way, and technology is helping us that way, and certainly Holly and her office are doing a great job. I did receive some texts, and absolutely, we have some cabinet reports. So Dr. Sarah Parker is up first there. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Board of Trustees, and welcome Dr. Vanley Warda Munsami, and welcome Dr. Marriott, and congratulations to Tyler Downey. I'm so excited to work with you. At our last board meeting in May, we were just getting into celebration season, and I had the opportunity to attend many of the ceremonies recognizing our students' accomplishments, including, of course, graduation. And I want to reiterate my congratulations to the 715 students who completed 1,283 certificates and degrees, and to faculty members and classified professionals, as well as administrators who played a pivotal role in their success. Over the course of academic year 2021, again and again, I observed members of the NVC staff committed to students, volunteering to participate in college endeavors, and partnering across constituency groups to arrive at solutions. The significant accomplishment that you heard about a little while ago from Faculty Association President Christy Uwamoto at the end of the semester is one important example of this, and it represents our collective interest in collaborative approaches as we look ahead to the 21-22 year, as many of my colleagues have spoken about already tonight. The summer enrollment numbers, let me pivot now, suggest that students are also looking forward to the year ahead and to pursuing education at Napa Valley College. As of this morning, our enrollment numbers showed 2,192 unique students enrolled in over 11,000 cumulative units for Napa Valley College's summer session. This represents currently 98% of our 2020 summer numbers, with still several days to go before summer session begins. And we have already met the level of fill rate in our classes that we had last summer, which was very robust in compared to prior years. With dozens of summer classes continuing to start into later June and July, I'm really pleased with these numbers, and I feel optimistic that we'll see this momentum continue into our fall semester. We're actively monitoring student enrollment activity around fall and making additions to the schedule or adjustments to the schedule as needed to ensure that we're responding to student demand. Academic Affairs is working closely with Public Affairs and Communications. You just saw some of their amazing work to coordinate and hone our marketing strategies and to target messaging for particular course offerings, programs, and specialized opportunities for students. So lots in the works, and I'm excited about the opportunity to put some things in place this summer and be ready to go again next fall.
Thank you, Sarah. Go ahead, Oscar.
Hello, thank you, Dr. Kraft. I have just one comment to make, and my comment is in reference to wishing Bob Parker a new venture at Mission College. Mission College is located in the Sylmar area, which is a place actually in Sylmar that I visited many times as a child because I had relatives who lived there. But Bob, I want to wish you the best in your new role, and let us know if we can be of any assistance to you. I also want to extend the same farewell to Eric Hauk, who will be leaving us also towards the end of this month, at the end of this month. And so I want to wish them both only the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Charo, I'm not sure that you have something, but I did not receive the heads up on that. So I will move along and say that we are concluded with the President's and Cabinet's report. Thank you. You're muted.
Unmute. Okay, then. So we are then moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have any items that need to be pulled for discussion?
I just wanted to make one comment. I wasn't going to pull anything, but I just wanted to thank Dr. Tennyson to put together that very thoughtful and detailed report on the American Canyon Center in terms of the workforce programs that she's been managing. And that's, I don't know if the board recalls, but we had asked for that about a year ago, not surprisingly. And so I just wanted to let her know and her team know that saw that and was very appreciative and exactly really what I personally was looking for.
Thank you very much.
Trustee Baldini, move approval.
All right. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second.
I heard Trustee Goff first, so I'm going to give it to her. Trustee DeLuda, how do you vote? Aye. Trustee Dodd?
Aye.
Trustee Goff?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Baldini?
Aye.
Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye as well. So we have passed the consent agenda unanimously. And so now let's see, we are moving on to academic affairs. Our first item is memorandum of understanding with Pacific Union College. And I believe Dr. Sarah Parker has something for us on this.
I'll just speak very briefly. This is an exciting opportunity to partner with Pacific Union College to make this course available to students on their site, an ESL course in fall semester, and it will also be open to the community that may be interested in enrolling in either the credit or the non-credit version of the class, which are mirrored with one another, making it possible for the students to take the class in the same space at the same time.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
That was from Trustee Rios. Do we have a second?
Second, Baldini.
Second from Baldini. And Trustee DeLuda, how do you vote? Aye. Trustee Dodd?
Very happy aye.
Trustee Goff?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Baldini?
Aye.
Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez?
Aye.
And I will also say aye as well. So that is unanimous. So our next item 9.2 is an MOU between Napa County on behalf of Napa County Library and Napa Valley College for 5 years. I am going to recuse myself from this one, although I have no financial benefit from it. It does have my husband's name in the contract, so I just think to keep it safe, I'll just keep quiet.
I was curious about that.
So, and I think Dr. Parker is also introducing this one, if she has anything to tell us.
I am. I'm actually going to pass over to the Director of Library Services, Brian Lim, although I see that he's on the attendee, so he may need some attendee lists, may need some help getting unmuted over there. Are you here, Brian?
I'm looking too.
Hi. I think I'm on now. Hi, I'm
Yes,
Brian
you're
Lindbergh.
good.
Okay, thanks. So thank you, Sarah, for allowing me to speak to this item. Just by way of background, the library beneficially shares a library catalog that is provided by the Napa County Library System. And the Napa County Library System has entered into an agreement with a company called Innovative Interfaces, which provides the library system called Polaris, all these acronyms, all these terms. And the agreement is expiring, current agreement expiring at the end of this month. And what's up for consideration is a renewal of the agreement for another 5 years. The county agreement with Innovative Interfaces has us in it, as well as Solano County. Our portion of the share of the agreement is about 9.36% over 5 years. And for us, the cost is an annual approximately $9,000 to $10,000 over 5 years. And this is a very beneficial arrangement for us to have the county provide us this library system, which they already worked out an agreement with the company to add us into this. We benefit in that all of our holdings, our print book catalog, are cataloged in the county library system. And so that we can share books with the county. They can borrow from us. We can borrow from all of the other county libraries. We can borrow from Solano Community College Library, which is part of the same system. So it's a truly a win-win for us. And this is an ideal kind of arrangement we have as an academic library partnering with the community, local public library system. And if we didn't have this kind of shared system, we would probably be paying a lot more in terms of print resources. We were really relying on the county and the Solano Community College to provide us a lot of print resources that we would not otherwise be able to purchase. There are other benefits as well. We have access, also borrowing access to over 40 or so, 50, I think by now, academic and public library collections throughout the state. We can borrow freely from those because of this arrangement. And the borrowing here is tied up with a delivery service called Unity. So there's delivery from the county library to us at Napa Valley College of books that our patrons, our students, our faculty have borrowed. And we deliver outwards to borrowers in the community, in the county, as well as at Solano Community College. And during the pandemic, this interlibrary borrowing delivery service was really beneficial because we have students and faculty who couldn't come to campus, but we encouraged them to use the delivery service to request books from our own library to have them delivered to their county library branch that was closest to them, whether that be in the American Canyon or at the main library in Napa. So that in a nutshell is it. This is a really important resource for us to continue and to support.
Thanks, Director Lim. That's very helpful. I can actually speak from experience. I'm sure I use that. It sounds very familiar to what I used when I was writing my history thesis.
Oh, yeah.
College as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was pretty cool just to have access to that many resources.
Yeah.
Hey, Catherine, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not.
Since I'm not voting on it, I guess I can comment. I was just happy to read a contract where I could actually understand the acronyms. So, do we have a motion for this to approve?
I motion for approval.
Okay, so you guys are just gonna play tennis all night, huh? So, a motion from Trustee Goff with a second from Trustee Baldini. And Trustee DeLuna, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Dodd, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Goff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Rios, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Baldini, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez, what is your vote?
Aye.
Fantastic. And I'm recusing myself, but otherwise it is unanimous, and I will let my husband know he can sleep tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's move on then to, we are at we're done with 9. We're now on to 10. It's the Bob Parker Show. The last Bob Parker Show. So let's see. We have first thing up, actually 10.1, tentative budget, and the Audit and Finance Committee did meet and discuss this as well. So our chair, Trustee Rios, do you want to introduce Mr. Parker?
Sure, thank you. So the committee met with Bob Parker. We had spent quite a bit of time with him to review the tentative budget. We reviewed the planning priorities and planning budget timeline. I think it's important to note that there are no general fund dollars available for new initiatives. We reviewed the different area councils' planning priorities and the funds requested by each of those councils, which had to be tied to one of the 6 planning priorities, or I've lost the operational continuance, or it had to be tied to operational continuance. So we reviewed each one of those funds. There are some funds available, one-time funds, for example, from the stimulus package funds to cover some of the requests for funding. Other funding is coming from funds such as the Student Equity, Strong Workforce, Guided Pathways, and we got into very much the detail of the tentative budget, primarily in the restricted, unrestricted general fund, where Mr. Parker was able to guide us through kind of the items there and answer all of our questions about the tentative budget. And as presented, the tentative budget is a balanced budget. So it also reflects consideration of a expected 4% increase in property tax revenues, other expense increases based on the increase in Bay Area Consumer Price Index, and it takes into account increases for salaries based on, at this time, estimates from the ongoing negotiations. So after grilling Mr. Parker on these things, the committee voted to recommend to the board to approve the tentative budget as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rios. Mr. Parker, do you want to, well, we can have you available to entertain questions. Does anyone have any questions about it? Nobody's jumping? All right, then. So do we have then a, well, first, let me ask, is there any public comment on this item?
I do not have any public comment, nor do I see any request.
All right, then.
Attendees.
So do
Trustee
we
Baldini
have,
moves approval.
okay, Trustee Baldini, we have your motion. And who was the second?
Rios.
Rios, thank you. All right, so Trustee DeLuna, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Dodd, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Goff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson, how do you vote?
Sorry, aye.
Trustee Rios, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Baldini, how do you vote?
Aye.
Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez, how do you vote?
Aye.
And then I will also vote aye. So we have a unanimous tentative budget for 2021-22. And so then we are moving on to 10.2, California Community College's Chancellor's Office Quarterly Financial Status Report for the period ending March 31st, 2021. Also was discussed by the committee. And so Trustee Rios, you again.
The committee also voted to recommend to the board to accept the quarterly financial status report.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Parker? He's getting off light for his last meeting here. If no questions, then do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not.
And then do I have a motion and a second?
Motion for approval, Dodd.
Dodd, and a second?
Second, Ines.
Ines. Okay, so from first from Trustee Dodd and a second from Trustee DeLuna. Trustee DeLuna, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Dodd?
Aye.
Trustee Goff?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Baldini?
Aye.
Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. So we have a unanimous acceptance of that report. And then let's see, 10.3, 5-year capital outlay construction plan and district order of priority. I think this time, Mr. Parker, you have to actually talk.
I think so. So, Catherine, can you open the attachment? And so this is a report that we submit on an annual basis. We're required to submit on an annual basis to the State Chancellor's Office. And this lists what our plans would be were funding available to do construction and renovation activities on campus. And we always point out, and the State Chancellor's Office also points out, that approving this list and submitting this list does not in any way obligate us to do this construction activity. It's just for the Chancellor's Office to collect information about unmet need at the various community college districts. I just want to point out, number one here, the Building 3100 machine tool welding modernization. That has actually been approved for state funding. In fact, we received state funds this year, this fiscal year that's ending at the end of this month, to enter into the design phase, and funds have been approved for next year for construction activities. We will match those funds. That's why it says state and local funds. I also want to point out where it says FPP, that's a final project plan. So that means the plan has been approved by the state and has been funded. Everything else that you see here, you see that the only other project that has any FPP or IPP next to it is the Building 1400 classroom modernization. That's in an initial project plan phase that will now move to a final project plan in the coming year. So that could potentially qualify for state and local funds. And we discussed this at a previous meeting, but just to say that there are, the way that things get prioritized for state funding are, number one, if there are fire or safety issues, and we don't have any buildings that fall into that category. There's also priority for growth. So if your student population is growing and you don't have adequate space to meet that demand, we don't qualify for those funds. But the age of your building will also potentially qualify you. And the 1400 building is a building that has not been modernized since it was, not to say that we haven't been maintaining it, and we have, but that is one of the older buildings on campus and hasn't been modernized, and so qualifies potentially for modernization funds. So with that, I would certainly be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. As I say, this is a required submission every year at this time to provide the state with our list of potential projects.
Anyone have any questions? And is this an action? This is an action item. So you need us to accept it, approve it? What are we doing?
So you're approving submittal of this.
Approving
to
the submission
State
of
Chancellor's office.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this?
We do not.
We do not. Okay, then. Do I have a motion to approve the 5-year capital outlay construction plan and district order of priority?
So moved.
From Trustee Rios, do I have a second?
Second.
From
Trustee
Iverson. All right. Trustee DeLuna, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Dodd?
Aye.
Trustee Goff?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Baldini?
Aye.
And Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez?
Aye.
And I will vote aye as well. So that one passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right. I think we've got at least one more, maybe two for Mr. Parker. The next one, 10.4, award of contract for audit services. And this was also something that the committee took a look at. So Trustee Rios, do you have any comments before we ask for Mr. Parker's input?
No, I believe we looked at this our prior meeting.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
So I will let Mr. Parker just give us a brief presentation on this.
Certainly. So we did, the Business and Finance Office issued an RFP for audit services for the coming 6-year period. It's a 3-year contract with an option to renew for 3 years. We received a proposal from Casalius, Wilson, Dominguez, and Levitt, or CWDL. They happen to be the audit firm that we are currently using, but their proposal was their proposal included all of the required information, but also indicated how they would work with us, and was at a price that was deemed to be in line with what we are currently paying, with escalators, obviously, for potential increases in cost of living increases and consumer price index increases. We have a good working relationship with this company. They have been working very closely with us. I just want to say we are late with our audit for fiscal year 2020. We will be finishing that up by the end of this month, and they have been instrumental in helping us get over the hump and work through what we need to do to get that audit work done. And so we certainly recommend, and the Audit and Finance Committee recommended approval of this contract moving forward. And just to be clear, it's a 3-year contract with the option, and it would be your option, to extend beyond that for another potentially 3 years.
Thank you. And I think, as I recall, we were able to continue with the same group because they're going to have a new lead. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. So the State Chancellor's Office requires that we have a new auditor every 6 years, that no one auditor can be in charge of the audit. Doesn't mean that the same audit firm can't do it, but you can't have the same lead auditor from that firm for greater than 6 years.
Okay. Any public comment on this item?
Can I just one other thing, Chair? I think it's important to, because we had some questions about this, I think it's important to point out that the Chancellor's Office is aware of the timing on our audit, and Mr. Parker, his office, had been in close contact with the Chancellor's Office. So I think we're all good, and we're not in any kind of trouble.
Nobody's going to come break our kneecaps. So
no, they're looking for Mr. Parker if they do.
What's that new address? All right, then. Do we have a motion to approve the contract?
So moved, Baldini.
And a second? Second from Iverson. All right. Trustee DeLuna, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Dodd?
Aye.
Trustee Goff?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Rios? I saw your lips move, but so I think you said aye. Trustee Baldini?
Aye.
Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. So we have unanimously awarded our contract for audit services. So now, let's see, what's up next? We have the purchase of equipment from Selway Machine Tool Company for the Machine Tool Technology Program. Mr. Parker, what can you tell us about this?
Well, so this is really an academic affairs request, but because of the dollar amount that's reflected here, it's falling under administrative services because it would, at $150,000, it would typically require that we go out for competitive bids. Anything above the bid limit is $92,000, and so anything above that amount would require competitive bids. We did not do an RFP process for this, however, and the reasons why are included in this agenda item, the explanation for that one of the ways that you would not go through the bid process, competitive bid process, would be if you're dealing with a single source. And in this particular case, this equipment that we're purchasing from Selway, it's the Haas brand of equipment. Haas is the equipment that we currently use in machine tool technology. Haas is also the only company that produces the type of equipment that meets the needs of our machine tool technology program and fits in with the instructional program that we offer. And Selway is the sole source provider of Haas equipment in Northern California. And so for all of those reasons, and I should also say that this purchase is being funded through Strong Workforce Fund. So this is an approved Strong Workforce program. So for all of those reasons, the Business and Finance Office is recommending approval and moving forward with this purchase.
Thank you for the explanation. I'll move for approval. Trustee Iverson?
Trustee Baldini second, and then I have a comment afterwards. Jennifer, you're muted.
Sorry. Did you want to make your comment before or after the vote?
I could make it presently. I did reach out to a acquaintance of mine that operates a machine shop. He said this is a very relevant piece of equipment to the educational program that we offer here at Napa Valley College. And with the modernization being first up on the capital outlay construction plan, he suggested that we look at the ANZA's program before we go ahead. It is reputedly the Tesla or Ferrari or Rolls-Royce of machine tool technology in the community college arena. That is my comment.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this?
No, we do not.
No, we do not. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So
can I ask, Trustee Baldini, are you suggesting we don't approve this, that we delay, or that the program actually talks to the other college about their development in their program?
No, that I am advocating I'm in favor of the passage of this contract and approval of this contract. What I'm suggesting, listening to folks in the industry, is that we take a look, the Napa Valley College, take a look at this DeAnza program before we pull the trigger on modernization. It's
great.
Apparently,
makes sense. Thank you.
Apparently something to look at.
All right.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you brought that to our attention. So then we have a first and a second, and Trustee DeLuna, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Dodd?
Aye.
Trustee Goff? Oh, you muted, unmuted. She said, Trustee Goff?
I said aye.
I thought you did, but just wanted to check. Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Rios?
Aye.
Trustee Baldini?
Aye.
Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez?
Aye.
And then I will also vote aye. So we have unanimously decided to purchase some equipment. And so now we are looking at review of community use of college. No, wait, I'm sorry. I skipped a big one. Goshy. Okay, so we are now at 2.6, authorized potential lease of certain real property located on the Upper Valley campus to the city of St. Helena for municipal purposes. And Mr. Parker, what can you tell us? What's our status now?
Certainly. So what you're seeing tonight is the version of the lease that was approved by the City Council of the City of St. Helena. There are some things to note as we look at the lease. And Catherine, could you open the lease? That's great. Okay, thank you. And so if you move to what is, I'm scrolling through my list because I've made some highlights. So if we go to page 4 of the PDF, at the very top of the page, it says the parties acknowledge and agree that the city hall portion of the premises consists of, and there's a blank there. The reason there's a blank there is that the architects that the city of St. Helena is working with, we're all in agreement that the total square footage is 7,979 square feet. But the portion of the square footage that reflects what they will use for City Hall and the portion that reflects what they will use for the police department, they're still finalizing those numbers. That's why those numbers, if you scroll down a little further, Catherine, there's also a section for police department portion, and there's a blank there as well. If we go to what is page 6.
I'm sorry, Mr. Parker. Could I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
I'm a little confused there. I mean, we're all in agreement about what the total is, but we have to wait for them to decide how that breaks up before we put that in, or I didn't quite get that.
Right. So there will be, and we'll see a little later in the lease, that there will probably be a bit more of a delay in occupying the police department space than there will be in occupying the City Hall space. The City Hall space will require minor renovations. The police department portion will require more significant renovations that will probably trigger DSA approval. And so finalization of what those numbers are and how they're identified comes in a little later in the lease, where we talk about when payment of the lease will commence. And so until those numbers are finalized by their architects, those are currently blanks in the lease.
So we anticipate that the rent that they'll pay may start off as just a portion until they get the police department portion of it completed.
That's correct. That's correct. And we see that a little later in the lease document.
Does the college still retain use of those other spaces until that part commences?
The college will not retain use of those spaces because renovations will be required in those spaces.
So during the period of renovation, even though they're using it, they're renovating it for their use, they're not paying for it.
They will not be paying for it during the renovation period. That's correct.
Whose idea was that?
Yeah.
Well, clearly it was their idea. And in recognition of the fact, some of what you're seeing in this revised lease reflects the fact that the cost of and I think we talked about this in a closed session a meeting or two ago, that the costs for their tenant improvements have come in significantly higher than they were expecting them to. And so they were looking for a few concessions in order to compensate on their side for the cost of the tenant improvements that would be required.
Do they at least have a timeline for like how long they expect that to take?
They do, yes. And so you'll see that a little further in the lease when it talks about when lease payments commence.
Even if they don't, when we get to that page, even if they don't finish and they haven't officially moved in, they will start paying rent at that period.
Yeah. So the only thing what delays the rent payment, what would delay the rent payment and make it longer than the length of time that the renovations would take would be the amount of time it takes to get Division of State Architect approval. Now, we don't see, I attended a meeting last week where the Division of State Architect director indicated that what they call their bin time, the amount of time that it takes for review. Now, we all know that review of the plans for our campus housing is taking about 6 months, but that's a $100 million project and 3 buildings. This is renovation of an existing building, and renovations that fall within the $500,000 to $750,000 range are taking about 2 weeks to review. So that shouldn't be a significant delay in the review time. But because they are using one of our buildings and that dollar amount of renovations would trigger DSA approval, that's a delay that's in effect caused by us being under DSA, under that DSA approval requirement.
And Dr. Parker, is it, in your opinion, do you think that in the long run we will break even or be in a better position because we retain those tenant improvements that they'll be working on when they're not paying rent?
So there will be some benefit to us of the tenant improvements. I mean, there are certain, I have to be honest, some of the tenant improvements in particular for the police department refer to what they call hardening of the space. And hardening of the space is a requirement on their side because they're using it for police activity. we probably wouldn't need the space to be that hard if we start using it again as instructional space. Trustee Iverson?
So generally, I mean, I think that this is a good thing to do for the district. I know that there's been a lot of different opinions on it. I just, myself, and I don't know, I would kind of defer to the attorneys on the board, but do you typically approve a lease agreement with holes in it or blank spots? I think that's just my tough, like, how do we dial that back after we've approved it? And does it impact it? I mean, I feel like it's significant to some of the terms of the contract.
Mm-hmm. Especially since they would be paying rent on at least part of it, and the rent is determined by square foot, but we don't know what the square footage is.
And I'm all for concessions, but I just don't want to put us in a position where it's detrimental, I guess. If that's I'm going down the right road. I just, looking at it, I don't like a lot of the blank spots.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Bob and I have talked about it, and I think we have a pretty good idea. Not exactly the square footage, but they've indicated pretty clearly the square footage that they are intending on using for the police department. So I can't just jump on that one.
Can we put them in then? I mean, can we put in a tentative idea so we have some base to measure off of in the lease agreement? I mean, it's clearly speculative to me on my interpretation, if that's correct or not. I don't know if I have other trustees out there with similar questions.
Honestly, my bigger concern is how long can they potentially go not paying rent on that section? Is there a limit to that? Because if it takes them a year and a half to do renovations and we don't have access to our own space to use it for college purposes, and we're not collecting rent on it, that makes me uncomfortable. If there was something in here, that had like a deadline or something that, if after X amount of time, progress is being made, but they haven't got there yet, then then the lease payments kick in. I'm not, maybe that would make me more comfortable. I don't know. I guess it just depends on what the anticipated amount of time is. Right. 2 weeks to do the review is one thing, but then how long does the actual work take? Because we all know how that can be.
Right. So maybe we should move forward to that section of the lease where those time limits are listed. So Catherine, let me go back to my version of the lease that I have in front of me.
I'm at your command, Bob.
Okay. So Catherine, can you advance? You're on page 4. So can we advance to page 6 of the PDF? So on page 6 of the PDF, Article 3, term and commencement. And so first of all, while we're here, let's look at option terms. So the city initially had requested 2 2-year terms at their option. We went back and said we wanted it to be mutual option, and the city countered and said we have to, if we're investing this amount of money as tenant improvements, we need to have the ability to at least get 1 2-year option term. And so that's the way the current version of the lease reads, that it is at their option, but it is only for 2 years. It's not the what was in the first version of the lease was 2 2-year terms at their option.
Bob, or Chair, if I could, the notice that the board approved regarding, which is I think an ed code requirement, about a notice to enter into a lease of real property indicated, I think, that the lease would be for no more than a 5-year term. Or was it a 3?
No, so the lease indicated the notice indicated that the lease was for a 5-year term. The lease is for a 5-year term under the initial term. And so we consulted with our attorney, and what you are looking at tonight is consistent with the notice that was published in the paper.
I think, yeah, I guess I'm just happy to talk about when you get to discussion. I guess I'm just wondering, just a little bit of discomfort in terms of the public notice and how we initially went through this process. And I think we initially, when speaking with a lot of interested constituents, I think the discussion was it was going to be a lease for 3 to 5 years. And then we went to 5 years. And I don't know if maybe any of my colleagues can remember that, but I was just trying to look through some of my old emails. But that's kind of was the discussion I thought at the time, but I don't know if you recall.
I think it's at one point it seemed like I think it was even more than that. I think it was like, I want to say 9. Yeah.
Well, that was their initial, the city's initial proposal.
So this is it for all intents and purposes, basically a 7-year lease.
It would be at the city's option. It could be a 7-year lease. That's correct.
Do you see a way that the city wouldn't, I guess, under what circumstances would the city not exercise that option? What is its plans in terms of developing its own city hall? And what do you know the budgeting for that and timeline for that process?
I know they've been talking about it for 25 years, so.
Yeah, I know that at this moment they don't have specific plans, which is why they wanted this 2-year option in place. Certainly, if they put together a plan for constructing a new city hall and start that construction process while this lease is in effect, that could limit this to a 5-year lease. But
you don't know anything ongoing right now in terms of plans. I guess that's, yeah.
I do not. No.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, but in essence, to us, this is a 7-year lease because we know we can't plan for anything to start there or restart there, until those 7 years are up because we don't control the last 2. So, Dr. Kraft, you foresee that this might be a problem for the district? I mean, when do we expect maybe to ramp up, any programs or classes up there? Would 7 years not having the full space for the actual 7 years be a problem, or would it look like a problem at this point?
It's a very good question. It's really hard for me to go that far out, but I can say that Dr. Sarah Parker, and myself, and Bob as well, we've worked through what we believe it looks to be a good, solid 5-year plan. And we're going to expand our educational offerings and activities up there and can do that expansion, which I think the board will be excited about, without utilizing these extra areas. And so I'm not seeing it curtailing our ability at all. If I did, I would sure be talking about it right now in answer to your question, but I do not. I feel like we're going to have a robust, active academic and educational training center there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any discussion at all about the types of renovation that they'll be doing and what potential interruption that work might have on our programs? I know that like once they're up and running, your part's over there, our part's over here, but when they've got, construction work, how is that going to create any problems for our people?
I will say that we don't anticipate the construction work, that the construction work will create any issues for our people. First of all, the activity that is taking place in the Culinary Arts Building, it's a separate building with a separate entrance and a separate set of restrooms. And so the construction activity in what is in effect Building A, the Culinary Arts Building is Building B. The Building A construction would not have any impact on what happens in the Culinary Arts Building. The other space that we will utilize in Building A is the Fine Arts Room, room 8A and 8B. And the significant or potentially significant construction activity, and significant is probably a more severe term than would really describe what's going to happen, but they are talking about creating a couple of small office spaces in the police department area. That is all what is currently the library space at the Upper Valley campus, and everything along that hallway. The art room is on the other side of the building and should not be impacted in any way, negatively impacted in any way by that construction activity. There may be, because of some ADA upgrades that need to take place, there may be some interruption of accessibility to the restrooms during that period of time. But again, anyone using the art room could use the restrooms in the Culinary Arts Building, which is pretty much next to, it's separate from, but next to the art room. And so we don't see that would be any significant, would have any significant impact on the activity that we're currently doing and plan to do at the Upper Valley campus.
My last question, because I don't want to just keep beating it and spinning it, because we don't have to take action, I guess, but I'm generally for this. Do we have an idea of what the dollar value is, what the numbers are on the offsetting, the concessions that we're doing? Do we have like just a ballpark?
So we would be looking at, when you say,
so I'm on page 7, Article 4.
Okay. Catherine, can you move forward to page 7, Article 4?
Now, it looks like they get, Article 4.2, I think it is where they are.
Well, there's the rent offset 4.2. I'm reading the last paragraph of 4.1.
Right. So Trustee Iverson, I think what you're referring to is the amount of time that they have access to the space before they start paying rent.
Right.
So, for example, if we look at the City Hall portion, it's saying that payment of rent on the City Hall portion of the premises shall commence on the first day of the month, 90 days after the possession date. So what they're saying is it will take them 3 months to get the space ready for them to occupy. And this lease indicates that they start paying rent 3 months after the possession date. Now, Trustee Baker, to your question, this is where they say, or where the lease says, if your construction activities take more than 90 days, you start paying rent 90 days after the possession date.
And then it looks like 6 months after for the police part.
For the police part, that's correct. And there is a caveat in here where they reference the Division of State Architect. So they're saying that it's subject to an extension equal to the number of days that landlord may take to determine whether the tenant improvements are subject to review by the state architect, and the time that elapses before approval of the tenant improvements by the state architect. And that's where we
2 weeks.
That's that 2 week period.
Okay. So 6 months.
I'll move for approval.
I mean, I'd like to ask a couple more. I mean, this is we're leasing up the campus for 7 years.
Oh, we have a motion. We have nobody's voting
fine.
yet.
Fair
Do we
enough,
have
fair
a do we
enough.
have a second?
Baldini, second.
Okay. More discussion. Mr. Dodd.
I just two questions, Bob, and then I'd like to, if we're going to have some discussion, I just want to make sure I have an opportunity to express my opinions. But just before I do that, wanted just to two questions. One, I'd understood that really the college isn't going to go out of pocket at all for any sort of tenant improvements, and I'm just kind of going over the lease and my eyes are hurting. So I'm just trying to, if you know this off the top of your head, Bob, but it seems that there is potential that the college could go out of pocket immediately for tenant improvements. And then my second question is, what happens at the end of the lease? I'm looking at surrender of premises of Article 17. And I would kind of anticipate that the college would want to be very thoughtful in terms of what does this look like at the end of 7 years, or hopefully 5 years, the campus is going to be returned back into its original condition, or somewhat of a condition. Habitable isn't the right word, but habitable, just say for purposes of the college's traditional uses. As a result, we're going to be if it's not returned into condition, the college is going to need to go out of pocket at the end of the lease to return it back to the condition that it previously was, or whatever educational purposes that might be deemed appropriate at that time.
Right, so Trustee Dodd, let me address your first question, and that is, Catherine, if you could move to page 9 of the PDF. And I believe, and scroll down here where it says responsibility for tenant improvements. I believe this is what you're referring to. The only out of pocket for the college related to tenant improvements has to do with ADA improvements. And so the college agreed, and notice it says their landlord shall pay the first $21,000 toward any required ADA improvements. We came up with that number. They came up with that number. We agreed to that number based on the report that we all reviewed from the ADA consultant. And that $21,000 has to do with ADA improvements that we would be required to make if we were to continue. That number is not triggered by their tenant improvements. That number is a review of current conditions in the building, and it has to do with the placement of soap dispensers in the restrooms and the height of the urinals and the side that the flushing mechanism is located on in certain of the bathroom fixtures. Those are things that if the city walked away tomorrow and said, we've decided we don't want to lease the space, we would need to make those improvements. And so we were in agreement that this is something, and quite frankly, I don't think it's going to cost us $21,000 because we have our own folks who can do some of this work. But that's where that comes into play. So it's not really the tenant improvements themselves, but it's the potential ADA improvements that might be required. In terms of returning and I'm looking to see where that is in the document itself. So your question about returning at the end of the lease, returning the space to its previous condition.
And I guess it's just a deposit. Do we have a deposit? And this is kind of related to this question, Bob, about the idea of taking back control of the premises at the end of the lease. And if those obligations aren't met, we would have a deposit of security, which is pretty standard for commercial lease agreements.
We do not have that in this current version of the lease, Trustee Dodd.
When you say current version, does that mean we can still, or?
Oh, I got some blanks, so somebody's got to do something.
I'm
Sorry. But I mean, I would say we could at this point, you could at this point go back to the city of St. Helena with that request. If you approve this lease tonight, then you would not have the, you would have less of an ability, I guess I should say, to go back and ask for that change. So if you feel strongly that that should be in the lease, then that's something that you should direct staff to go back to the city of St. Helena for.
Did we determine if there was something here about the surrender of the premises?
So if we go, Catherine, it's way at the end of the agreement. If we go back to, it's page 21 of 21 of the document, surrender of premises, and it says determination as to what tenant improvements constitute personal property and which constitute fixtures shall be determined in accordance with California Civil Code. Tenant is strongly encouraged to meet and confer with landlord to make a written determination prior to commencing any project. And then upon termination of the lease, any furniture, furnishings, trade fixtures, or business equipment may be removed by the tenant, provided, however, that the tenant shall with due diligence cause any part of the premises damaged by such removal to be promptly repaired. So those are the two sections that have to do with turning the premises back over to us at the end of the lease.
How are we feeling, guys? Jeff?
Yeah. I personally, I think there's too many open holes in this lease for me. I'm not saying I can't get supportive. I am significantly concerned about the term of the lease, just because of my recollection of previous communications and discussions with a lot of the community was this was going to be no more than a 5-year lease. Obviously they wanted significantly less, but they kind of they were very patient and said, okay, if this is the direction that we're going to go, and this is the time that the college needs to do some more strategic planning in terms of, rehabilitating the campus for improved, student programs, then I think we can do it. But longer than that just doesn't seem to really be consistent with that discussion. I wouldn't call it a promise, but just that discussion that we had with the community on that. I do have, I think, just more as probably as wearing my attorney hat, some of the terms on this, also being open. I think the lack of a deposit, the lack of real, I think, description of what would happen at the end of the lease and how that really could impact students and new programs at the end of the lease is concerning to me. So I would love to actually probably offer a motion to postpone this item maybe to the next month's meeting, if that was open, but I'd certainly welcome more discussion on this.
I have a couple of comments. I have some of the same concerns, Jeff, that you did, and especially regarding the term. I am not as concerned at this point as I think as you appear to be. I think, when we were talking about that, yes, the community was concerned about the length of it, but it doesn't sound like we are going to be in a position to utilize the entire space again in 5 years. The community, was looking for something shorter. We were talking about the 5-year term. If they wanted more, they've given up one of the options. So I'm okay with that portion. At this point, my other concern right now are just all of the blanks. Personally, if a client came to me with this document with all the blanks, I would say don't sign until we've got the blanks filled in. This other issue that's unclear, about what happens when the property is turned back over to the college. I know it says that the fixtures and such will be characterized according to the code, but I think it does lack. I agree with Jeff that it lacks some definitions and a little more meat on the bone there, so that we know and have we know what to expect and what we might be able to do or what we might be facing at the end of the lease. So those are my two concerns: the blanks and the lack of detail here on the surrender of the premises.
And Trustee Goff, I see your hand is raised. Unmute yourself.
Sorry, thank you. Two things. Number one, I was also concerned about the timing, but I have to say education, like a democracy, works very slowly. In my own experience, our high school has been around for 11 years now, and it is not anywhere near what we want as far as programs and things like that in place. So I have to believe Dr. Sarah Parker when she says there is a plan, and that plan is outlined over the course of 5 years, and they won't be using the space, even though we're growing programs. Very hard to grow programs, especially long distance, like going to St. Helena. There is some communication that needs to take place there. So I'm not as upset about the term of lease as I was initially. I agree that, and thank you, Trustee Rios, for being the kind of attorney that encourages your clients to have all the blanks filled in, because I think that's really important. Not being an attorney, that scared me as well. But I think it's not in our best interest to just say, let's throw it back and we'll vote on it next time. I think if we're going to really move forward with this, we have to give St. Helena a little bit more. I don't know if it's possible, but somehow take a vote that if the vote comes through, that we support this. However, we need these two things done to finalize this, because if we just throw it back to another meeting, I kind of feel like we're messing with them. I really think we need to take the pulse of the board, see if this is something that we really want to do. And then if it is, to really say, okay, we want to move forward, but again, we need these blanks filled out and we need that end game worked out. If we could do that, I would feel really good about it. Because I think they're waiting just like we're waiting. And we've been working on this a really long time. We're so close. Just to throw it back, I just don't think that's good enough. I think we owe them a little more as far as saying yay or nay to this contract, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Kyle, I see your hand, but I want to ask Bob Parker, is that, or Ron, actually, can we do a conditional motion? Can we approve it conditionally?
Can we just add a term and send it back with an amended term? Can we not do that on the fly and
yeah, so I guess that's,
and approve it with an amended change from the board, and that'll be a negotiating point?
And then, yeah, if they don't want to sign it, they can.
Well, just open discussion. It doesn't mean that we have to kick it back to the next board, but
yeah.
It's a straight counter offer, correct? Legal? I mean, from my vantage point, we're just creating new terms, which their board would have to meet and then accept. I mean, so
right.
It's kind of like any negotiation. So
then if they accept it, if we send it back to them approved with our changes, then they would have the opportunity to then approve it at their next meeting, which would make it official, or kick it back to us for our next meeting. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, but I defer to.
I believe that's correct too. I mean, if we don't accept it as it is, then we don't have a deal.
Right. And I see student trustee Soto Gonzalez has his hand up.
Hi. So yeah, I'm trying to, connect the dots, listen to what you guys are saying, very interesting stuff. I did have a question because I'm trying to understand everything of what's going on. And I do want to ask, what's the main goal for this week? What's the end goal of it? And how will it affect actually students of NVC?
Dr. Kraft, do you want me? I can. How about you do it? I see you're chewing though.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll let you swallow.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, it's a late dinner. It's a great question, and it was central to much of the early discussion. And it really boils down to the center has not utilized its spaces. We just have not used it over the past decade. So it's in some ways it's laid fallow. It's laid less than used. So that's one piece. Kind of contiguous with that, or the continual piece is it decays. So there's infrastructure that we have to keep up, just as if it were fully occupied. So this, in one way, gets it occupied, gets some life there, if you will, in quotes, people, activity, which we believe will benefit the college and our programs, our academic programs, and it also brings I think needed revenues in that would help defer the costs that we would be paying anyway over the next 5 to 7 years. And the roofs are still going to, everything is going to, still require repair. And in some of the articles in this contract, the city takes over some of those maintenance kind of activities, which relieve the college, knowing that it's kind of occupied, it's going to be well cared for, and that was the main issue. And that was really a conversation at the beginning of this. Are we denying students access to some really wonderful facility? And the answer is no, we're not. It can serve both purposes, we feel, and now we're really talking about whether or not those purposes should exceed, a 5-year span or a 7-year span, and that's the best I can do in a nutshell.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing, us students during that 5 or 7 year timeline, us students will somehow still be able to use that premises or not really during those timelines, the 5 or 7 years.
I think you're asking whether or not, our academic programs, students will be able to use. Is that the essence of your question?
Yeah.
Yes, I addressed that a bit earlier. We have a very strong, I think, academic plan for the several thousand square feet that the college retains and the usage of the facility. So I'm feeling that we have a robust hospitality, culinary, tourism programs up there, and some other programs that we have been developing. So I'm feeling we can satisfy student need. I would say also, it is geographically distant from us, and I understand the location convenience for Upper Valley folks. However, we do have a lot of underutilized space on our main campus, so we have room to grow and accelerate student access here on the main campus. If that were not true, if we were really at capacity here, this might take on a different flavor. We maybe need that to expand, but we don't at this point.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
I see Jeff. Did you have another question, comment?
Well, yeah, no, I think just maybe a suggestion in terms of how to move this forward based on what I've heard from my colleagues is maybe what we could do is just kind of get a straw vote if there is, on the certain items that we would like to see included in terms of a lease, not saying that we're saying no here, or that we're supportive of this idea, but just that there are lacking some details that we want to see, and if basically just getting a straw vote on those items. So I don't know. I would really, I think Trustee Rios kind of communicated the issues that I agree with. I'm a little different on the term piece, but it seems that I'm the only I'm in the minority there, which is fine. But just in terms of remaining terms that we would like to see included, perhaps it'd be nice to do a little straw vote. But that's just a suggestion, Chair.
Well, I'm wondering if before we do that, does anybody else have any other questions or comments before we start talking about how we might proceed? I think we're all good. Okay.
You've got I think you've got a motion.
Yeah, we do have a motion. We have a motion to approve as presented. And I'm trying to remember what the protocol is. If we want to have an amended motion, which one do we vote on first?
Amended motion.
The amended motion gets voted on first? I'm not sure.
I believe that's right.
Yes.
Okay.
You vote on the amended motion.
Okay. So do we want to amend? Does anyone want to amend the motion, or do we just move forward as is?
I'd like to amend the motion.
I'll amend the motion.
Okay. Do we know what we're amending it to?
So, actually, Trustee Rios, would you like to state the amended motion? I think you might be able to state it in a clear way as far as, filling in the blanks and getting that termination wording. Would you mind doing that?
Well, I don't know if it's an amended motion, but I would move that we request that the City of St. Helena revise the lease to complete, all of those sections that have been left in blank, and that we send them a proposed new Article 17 on surrender of the premises that addresses in more detail the responsibilities of the parties as to the removal of improvements and more detailed responsibility for costs of repairs, so that the premises are left in a condition that is usable for the district's academic purposes.
That is a long amended motion, but
I hope somebody was writing it down.
Well, I've got it.
You got it. Awesome. All right. So do we have a second? Okay. Was that Trustee Rios's motion, or was that Trustee Goff's motion?
That was Rios's motion, and Goff will second it.
Okay. Okay. So
does anybody want to
any more discussion before I call for a vote? All right. Trustee DeLuna, how do you vote?
On the amended motion, I vote aye.
On the amended motion, yes.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so Trustee Dodd.
Yes.
Trustee Goff. did you say aye? Trustee Goff? I think you said.
I did say aye, yes.
Trustee Iverson.
aye.
Trustee Rios.
Aye.
Trustee Baldini.
Aye.
Student Trustee Soto Gonzalez.
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. So we have unanimously voted on the amended motion, which Catherine wrote down in detail. And now Bob, on his last day on the job, is going to wrap up and put a bow on it for us, right? Okay, I think we're good. Do we need to go back and address the previous motion? How does that work?
It's been amended.
It's been amended. So we amended the motion, so we don't have to do anything.
One and the same.
Got it. We're done. Okay. We're done. then in that case, we are going to move on to 10.7, review of community use of college properties. And Mr. Parker, you've got the floor is yours.
Okay, so Catherine, if you can open up facility rental procedure.
This one?
This one, that's right. And this is a document that Samantha Maddox in our facilities department, who is the person who handles facility rentals, she put this together basically as an overview. This is not something that you see on our facilities website where you to go to our facilities website. But this is capturing what the current process is. So call or email facilities service to check availability. If dates are available, fill out an online facility request through our online School Dude portal. And School Dude is the software that we use. It's the software that we use for our facilities services requests, but it's also scheduling software for use of our facilities. Facility Service Office, compile an estimate, including overtime if applicable. And so on that School Dude reservation form, you indicate what facility you are using, and then you also indicate what services you will require. In order to confirm a reservation, you have to provide proof of liability insurance and sign and return the rental estimate. Catherine scrolled down a little further, and so I think Catherine's exhausted from writing down that amended motion. And then you would then receive an approval email from the Facility Service Office. So that's the way the process works. Catherine, if you open the next document, General Facility Rental Guidelines, this is actually a document that is available to the public. This does appear on our Facility Services website. And so this basically outlines to the public how we, why district facilities are available for community use when it does not conflict with district programs and operations. Requests must be at least 10 days prior to the event. It can be granted only for one fiscal year. So it goes into a little more detail as to how the process would actually work for someone who is utilizing our facilities. And then Catherine, finally, we have one more document that's attached here, and that is a compilation, and this information comes from our School Dude system, and it indicates in alphabetical order people who have used our facilities, and includes our own college organizations, as well as nonprofit or for-profit institutions. You can see we're listing from 2017 through 2021, the usage. Clearly in 2021, usage was significantly down because of the COVID pandemic. But perhaps a more important column is the column labeled rental fees. And so if an X appears in that column, it means that we charged that user some rental fee. Now, if there's no X in that column, it doesn't mean they didn't pay anything. It just means that they weren't charged a fee for use of the facility. They would still, if their use of the facility requires us to bring in staffing or requires any overtime, they would pay those staffing charges. They would reimburse the district for those district expenses. But the rental fee is just describing the fact that, or identifying that these particular users paid a rental fee. Now, you will see that anywhere where it says for profit, it indicates a rental fee. We are required under the Civic Center Act to charge for-profit organizations for use of our facilities. Under nonprofit, there are some that have an X in rental fee and some that do not have an X in the rental fee. And the Civic Center Act has a list of organizations. First of all, if the organization and the purpose of the organization is related to our purpose, then we do not charge them a rental fee. So for example, if Napa Valley Unified School District or the Napa County Office of Education wanted to use one of our facilities, we don't charge them a rental fee. Their purpose is similar to ours. There are also some not-for-profit organizations that are listed in the Civic Center Act, and it's kind of an old list, but a list that are organizations that are considered organizations that are for the common good. And so it's organizations like the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts who are a part of that list. And so those organizations would never pay a facility rental fee, but they would still potentially pay for expenses that are associated with their use of our facilities. And then, Catherine, finally, I think we have a link in the in board docs. So this link takes you to our, well, that's not where it should take you.
Should go here. I don't know why that doesn't work. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we can get there. We can get there, Catherine. You can follow that link.
Okay,
and then under college governance.
Okay.
So go to administrative services.
Okay.
And then the facilities department to the left there.
Mm-hmm.
And then under facilities, you can see facilities reservation requests. And so this is the page where we see rental guidelines, available facilities, the rental fee schedule, and we have performing arts center rentals are handled a little differently. Swimming pool rentals are handled a little differently. Catherine, if you click on rentals for community use, and so here we can see the community use portal, insurance guide requirements, and general guidelines. Catherine, if you click on the community use portal, I'm sorry, I'm waving my arm because my lights are about to turn off. If you click on community use portal,
I think I clicked there. It's whirring.
It's
thinking about it. There we go.
It's trying. And so this takes you actually into what is referred to as our School Dude or Dude Solutions software. And you can see here a list of all of the events that are scheduled for the month of June. And you can move forward to the next month and look at activities. And so if it's in a classroom, it actually shows you. So for example, room A38, nursing 131, that identifies the classroom. Other activities are not identified by site, but you can probably guess that the master's water polo practice is probably in the pool. The Vine water polo clinics are probably in the pool. The Murphy Irish dance classes are in one of the rooms in the gym. Napa soccer is on the soccer field. And so this gives you an idea. And if this is the portal that you would use, and Catherine, if you scroll up a bit, this is where you could log into the request facility use system and actually make a reservation for one of those. You can look at, you can determine, I should say, whether or not the facility that you're interested in using is available. If it is, you can submit the request here. You can submit information about what services you require, and then our facility that would go to the facilities department, that would go to Sam Maddox, and then she would reach out to you to confirm that that reservation. So we had said we were going to walk through how the system works. I'm sure we could make some improvements to how the system works, but this is the way the system is currently configured.
So you can rent the bear fountain? What do you do with
well, so interestingly enough, I asked the same question when I saw the bear fountain pop up. We refer to that courtyard in front of the student services area as the bear fountain area. And in fact, Matt, when I was talking to him, said, well, we should really change that to say bear fountain area, not bear fountain.
Or just, there's not any water, so it's not really even a fountain.
I know.
So anyway, so the process from somebody on the outside that wants to find out if if a space is available. So somebody calls, do you just refer them to the page? They go through the process, and then School Dude sends the information to the correct person, and they have to fill out all their forms and submit them online. I'm just trying to get from an outside perspective, is it onerous? Is it easy? What's the timeline?
Sure. I would say that if you were to call the facilities office and ask if a facility is available, Sam would walk you through the process. There's a little more human touch in the process than just directing somebody to a website and saying, fill this out. If you have never used the School Dude reservation system before, it is not necessarily the most user-friendly thing.
And I would agree. I actually I used it to have a whiteboard moved, and then I got a report that it had been moved, but I was still looking at it and it had not moved.
I have one question. So is there a way of seeing what's pending? This is just all what's currently being used. But is there a way?
That's a good question. From the user perspective, you've made that phone call, you've put in your request, you've filled out your documents. Is there a way for the user to see, where they are in the process, so that they, where it might be stuck?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me just say a couple of things. First of all, if your request is pending, if you put the request in yourself, then you could log into the system and see where your request is. I will say that once you put the request in, so I say, I want to use the community room on Saturday morning from 10 to 12. While my request is pending, nobody else can reserve the community room on Saturday morning from 10 to 12. It will appear to any potential new user that the community room is not available because I've put in a request to reserve it. Your ability to look in I believe, and it's been a while since I've done one myself, but I believe when you log into the system, you see there's a tab for your requests. Mm-hmm. And you can track your requests that you have placed into the system. Now, if you didn't place it, if we did it for you, then you wouldn't be able to log in and see it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions or?
Yes.
Go for it.
I noticed on the calendar filter, when you view all locations, the St. Helena campus pops up. So will that require the pending approval of the lease agreement? Will that require their approval as well to anything up in the St. Helena campus that if you will, on our space or in a parking lot or anything like that, or vice versa.
So if it's our space, exclusively our space under the lease, then no, it wouldn't require any coordination with the city. If it is, however, using a shared space, and we'll have to make some adjustments in the school dude system to reflect that, that you can put in a request, but we would have to coordinate that with, so for example, if what you wanted was to use the central courtyard, we'd have to make sure that the city wasn't, and again, they don't have exclusive use of the courtyard. So we couldn't lease the space that the police department is using. They have exclusive use of that, but we could lease other or let outside users use other spaces. And if the city was planning to do something on that day, they have to coordinate it with us, and then that space would not appear available at that time. But we will need to make sure that we, as we move forward with the lease, that we don't have any spaces listed in School Dude for the Upper Valley campus that will no longer be available because the city has exclusive use of them.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you very much for bringing this up and showing it to us. And it's not perfect, but it does appear to work. And it's good to know what the process is for if we have members of the public asking us, so we know where to direct them. Thank you very much. So,
thank you.
End of the Bob Parker Show.
Oh. Can I sit down now?
You can. So now let's see, moving on to 11. We have no items in 11 for human resources. We have no items for student affairs in 12. And 13, general information discussion action items. We have information on the 2018 to 2023 institutional strategic plan update from Dr. Robin Warnall. Are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I am still here. So Catherine, if I could ask you to project the one that says goal 4, the first attachment. Yes, perfect. Thank you. So back in October, the board approved the 2018-2023 institutional strategic plan, which was extended from 2021 through 2023 and was updated to include a goal associated with equity. The new goal 4 regarding equity articulates a goal, quote, to achieve equity in student outcomes and promote equity-mindedness as a means to evaluate all district practices, end quote. When the other 5 broad institutional strategic planning goals were established back in 2018, we then identified more specific initiatives, metrics, and deliverables associated with each goal. Those initiatives, metrics, and deliverables have been used to structure the 2 most recent annual progress reports that are shared with the Board of Trustees and the campus community each year. So this item is coming to you tonight as an information item to communicate the details regarding the new goal 4 and to help lay the groundwork for the 2020-2021 progress report, which will be coming to you in the fall. The structure was also shared with the Planning and Budget Committee, as that committee reviews the annual progress reports each year before they are submitted to the Board of Trustees. So there are 2 attachments associated with this document or this item. The first is what Catherine has projected here, and it contains the detailed initiatives, metrics, and deliverables associated with the new equity goal. And the second document represents the new institutional strategic plan update, which contains the initiatives, metrics, and deliverables associated with all 6 institutional goals to demonstrate that the new information pertaining to goal 4 has been incorporated into the institutional strategic plan structure. So that is what I have for you.
That was short and sweet. Thank you. All right, then, let's see. Item 14, board policy review and adoption. We have, unless we have any questions, I think about this first reading, I think we can just move on. Is that correct? Does anyone have any questions about either board policy 2345, 5110, or 7336?
No.
I don't see anybody chomping at the bit, so we will go ahead and just move past that. Oh, and we're at board reports then. So standing committee and other appointed reports. Let's see who we have here. I have Legislative Affairs Committee, Trustee Goff. Did you guys have a meeting?
We did not have a meeting. I don't know if Holly's still there. Holly, are you still?
Yes.
I am. You are. I always defer to Holly because she is the person that knows everything that's going on. So we have not met as a committee, but Holly, would you like to update us if you have any, if you've heard of anything? That would be wonderful.
Sure, I'd be happy to give you a brief update on a couple of items. The Senate and Assembly Budget Committees met on June 2nd, and they approved some of the biggest pieces of the 2021-22 state budget package, which includes the community college package. There were a couple of important issues and items that were agreed upon that will assist community-funded districts, pension relief, and the reduction of school employees fund. Those are still being finalized and obviously have to make it through the budget. So we'll share more information as it becomes available. Some of the bills that we've looked at in the past in committee did not meet the deadlines necessary to move forward, like broadband for all and the college mental health services bill, unfortunately. However, AB 927, the statewide baccalaureate degree program legislation, which the board decided to support, and we submitted a letter, that passed out of assembly and is now in the Senate. And at this point, there is no opposition. So that is very exciting because it looks like it will be moving forward with that, lots of support. Additionally, AB 102, which is the college and career access pathways, that one was referred to committee, so it's sitting in Assembly Education and has been there for a while, so we're not sure what's going to happen there. Finally, Napa Valley College signed on along with the California Community College Chancellor's Office, the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, and other partner organizations and colleges to support a budget agreement that addresses Cal Grant reform, which is consistent with the parameters of AB 1456. And as you know, financial aid is one of the top priorities for legislators this year, but in order to push to include it in the budget, they need to hear from people. So there's been a big push to get letters and emails to legislators to encourage their support. That's it for now.
As always, Holly, thank you so much for keeping us up to date. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Now, Holly, just to keep everybody in the loop, do you anticipate the legislative committee coming together for any reason in the next month or so?
Probably not at this point. I mean, all legislation has gone through and is either in committee. I think that they are expecting that the budget, I think tomorrow is really final. I don't anticipate anything that the committee really could review or do at this point until we look at the budget and we begin the next fiscal year.
Great. So, thank you so much again, Holly. So appreciate it. Back to you, Jennifer.
All righty then. So we have Audit and Finance Committee. That is Trustee Rafael Rios, but I believe everything we did, we've already done.
Further.
So Real Property Committee then, Mr. Rios, can you give us a report on that?
Well, I think we switched, didn't we not? There's Mr. Baldini.
Oh, that's right. You're right. We're right. We made, sorry. Okay. So,
and we were all there. Yeah.
Yes, we were.
With a unanimous decision of the Real Property Committee, we voted to move to the full board in July an agreement with Blake Joplin Landscape Architecture to identify potential partners and funding opportunities. So that'll be forthcoming in the July meeting.
And it's pretty exciting too. Yeah. So yeah, you'll learn more next month. Stay tuned. All right, then, the DOS committee, Mr. Iverson, did you have a meeting?
We did not meet.
Did not meet, okay. Viticulture and winery technology, Mr. Baldini.
No meeting.
Alrighty. Napa Valley College Foundation, Mr. Iverson again.
I'm gonna defer to Jessica's report. I think she's
already covered. Yeah. All right then. Accreditation Steering Committee, Ms. DeLuna, anything to report?
Yes, we met on May 21st, and there was a lot of progress, and it sounds like we're going to have a draft in August. And we're just trucking along. Thanks to everybody for all your hard work.
Thank you. All right. Is that, yeah, because our other two committees that do the awards, you guys are on hiatus for a while. I think we are done. Future agenda items. So we are 5.2. I know so Dr. Tejada had requested that she have the option to come and do something in August. I just want to make certain that we get that on our list for August, which would be the IEP results and plan, and then kind of getting ready for the visit from that group. And any other items that anyone wants to bring forward? What is the status? Okay, we've got the Mount Veeder update
is off. Right?
Yeah, we just had that, or it will be coming in July. Diversity training, we're going to be talking about that with our ad hoc. Honorary degrees, do we know what the status of that is right now? Is it still a TBD?
I could.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, Dr. Tejada?
I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here. I
change landscapes, though.
So, yes, this is my favorite beach in Puerto Rico. It's in my hometown. So, for a moment. The honorary degree policy is in committee. It is being reviewed at the curriculum committee. Okay. So that one is still in committee, and we can I can do some nudging. I'll talk to the new chair.
Yeah, I would think that there wouldn't be a lot of curriculum for honorary degrees. So
it has more to do, Trustee Baker. It has more to do with really understanding how we do that, how we do an honorary degree, and not compromise, for example, students opting out of a degree in order to get an honorary degree. So they're reviewing the criteria. There are some things that we want to make sure are in place so that we're not opening the door or creating a loophole for students to bypass actually
doing up a second there. Or is it me? Uh-oh, it's me.
No, we're good. Thank you, Eileen. On behalf of the chair, I'll fill in.
Trustee Dodd, you're up. Finish us up.
I think our chair was wrapping up the agenda items. I didn't see anything else. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Nope.
Seeing none, we'll proceed towards trustee and board chair reports. I will go first with Trustee Goff.
I had a feeling you were going to start with me.
Because I love you so much.
Two things to say. Number one is I, like most of us, have attended a variety of celebrations, graduation, etc., in the last several weeks. And this is a really exhausting time for everyone having to deal with schools. But I really want to put out there that as a trustee and not knowing a lot of the students, it really is nice to be able to be around the students and really see their progress and really hear them speak of their experience at Napa Valley College. And in light of that, I want to extend my thanks to not only the faculty, because you certainly are impacting students at every moment, but I also want to thank those of you who work for the college who make it happen. You know, from maintenance to custodial to food service to the bookstore to you know, administration to, you know, everybody that allows this facility to function. And there are a lot of you out there who are never thanked, who are rarely seen, but you make it happen. So I just really want to thank everybody who really works at the college. Whether or not you're in a classroom or not with students, you do have a positive impact on their experience. So I want to thank you. The second thing I want to do, which I think everybody tonight has done, is to thank Dr. Robert Parker. You were a wonderful, wonderful person to work with. I haven't been here long enough to have a vast amount of experience with you, but I have to tell you, it was always nice to see your name on things because I felt like you always did the best for the institution, and I greatly appreciate that. I am nervous about whoever is going to come in and fill your shoes because I think it takes a long time to develop that level of trust that you certainly have with everybody here at the college. And I want to thank you and I want to wish you well. That is my report.
Thank you. And moving away to just an order of districts, so Trustee Iverson.
I wanted to echo Trustee Goff, and I really, from the bottom of my heart, Mr. Parker, I wish you and your husband the best in your new endeavor, and they are big shoes to fill, and I'm sorry to see you leave, but I do wish you the best, and I want to welcome our new hire, Dr. Patricia, and I don't want to mispronounce your last name, but Munsami, welcome to the district, and looking forward to working with you. And that's my report.
Trustee Baldini.
Thank you. Again, picking up where my fellow colleagues, it does thank you for all those that have been involved in the graduations and to making the college run. Whether it's your penultimate day or you're just joining us, it does take everybody, particularly the students, to make this all happen. And so I'm also proposing, and this is not an action item, it's up to you, Trustee Baker, making tomorrow Bob Day. But anyway, and Dr. Tejada, thank you very much for your nudging in all respects. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee DeLuna.
Thank you. I just have something quick. This month, as we celebrate love and pride of being your authentic self, it's important to recognize and honor the fact that when BIPOC and LGBTQ plus people speak up, we speak with the courage gained after years of being silenced. To highlight a portion of the resolution adopted on August 13th, 2020, it is resolved that the Board of Napa Valley College will take steps to gain greater knowledge about diversity, to celebrate diversity, and to seek deeper understanding of inherent institutional and societal discrimination in the United States, including the educational system, in an effort to eliminate systemic racism and encourage individuals within our communities to support these efforts by examining their personal roles, which may support racist structures in order to strengthen our collective commitment to dismantling structural racism. I would like to honor and thank faculty for showing their support for Dr. Tejada, and I am in full support of the new ad hoc committee created and the continued commitment of the trustees to dismantle structural racism and celebrate diversity. I was able to attend the Umoja celebration, and I just wanted to mention a couple of quotes that were made during the celebration that were inspiring. And one is, "You are what our ancestors dreamed of." Another is our crowns have already been bought and paid for. And I just want to thank everybody on the Umoja team because it was truly an inspiring and beautiful celebration. Also, the Dr. and Schenk Awards. It was really nice to see Dr. Schenk and Rene Rubio is truly a very recipient of the award. The Jessamine West Creative Writing Contest was really nice. I think it's just so important to be able to participate in these events and then see, like Trustee Goff mentioned, all our students and everything that they bring to the table and our faculty that makes all of this happen and staff too. A big shout out to Marta and Oscar and Maria and the whole team that put together the drive-through graduation. It was wonderful to be a part of, and I look forward to a full, in-person graduation next year. There was also a DEI training through the CCCT, and it was training and working with your CEO to implement policies and plans for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it was a really great meeting. And I will actually forward some of the documents and information from that to the rest of the trustees. And hopefully that's something that Dr. Moonsamy, we can kind of look at, and you can help us as a board work together to ensure that we have a great plan in place. And again, thank you, Bob Parker, Dr. Parker, I'm not sure, for everything that you've done. I know I haven't known you for very long, but I truly appreciate all your hard work. And I wish you luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you for that thoughtful report, Trustee DeLuna. Trustee Rios?
Yeah, so a couple of things, and sound familiar to, I guess, other reports tonight. But I have to admit that when I got the invitation for the commencement ceremony that, was for 3 hours, I kind of hesitated. Oh my God, 3 hours. But I really enjoyed the celebration. The 3 hours actually went by faster than I expected. And really watching the students walk by when their parents or friends or whomever, in the cars following them with those huge smiles and just really excited, made me feel good. And I think it was a testament to all of the hard work from the faculty, classified, and administration in this this pandemic that we've been in. And it was all of their work to ensure that the students got what they needed in that difficult situation that resulted in that. And I just, I hope that that same excitement, I don't know, this celebration was, to me, so much more fun than the regular ones where most of us just sit there, for the 2 hours or however long it is, even though, there usually are some good speeches, but I can't say enough about everybody and thank everybody enough for how well that went off and demonstrated to all of us just how effective everybody was in this difficult time. So thank you to all of everybody that had anything to do with that. My second thing, of course, is I've already said thank you to Mr. Parker, but I will say it again. Thank you so much for your hard work. And everybody will miss you. And we hope that your successor can live up to the standard you have set. So good luck in your new endeavors and wish you well.
You're here. Thank you. To our esteemed student trustee, Silta Gonzalez.
That's my first time doing it. To report, well, nothing, but I do want to say that the graduation that we did at the end of May, that was very fun, actually, especially in my head, I initially thought that we were just going to be sitting the whole time and just waving, but it was funner to like stand and wave to them, say hi, especially up close, and to see like how their families was. And I do agree with Trustee Rios that it was actually funner like that because everyone got creative of what they did to the cars. And yeah, that was a very great experience. Hopefully next year will be also great. What else? I do also want to say congratulations to Parker, even though I don't know you much or at all for that matter. But from what I hear, it sounds like you're a great guy. And I hope you do well in the future. Yeah, that's all from me.
That was a perfect report. Perfect report. Just wrapping things up, I also do want to thank you, Bob. You've been, spearheading so many incredible, large initiatives here on campus, and doing so, I think, in a very thoughtful manner to make sure everybody feels like they're being listened to and taken seriously. And I think a lot of patience that goes along with that as well. Certainly, I know of my peppering questions over the past couple of years since I've been on the board, so I really appreciate that, Bob. And I am so glad you and your husband are just you didn't take this move. I think, and it's going to be a real fun move for you guys, and I'm really happy for you personally. And that just can't thank you enough for everything you've done for the campus. I also did want to thank the student affairs team, Martha Navarro. That was such a fun graduation. Everyone has spoken to that, but it was just, I think for everyone, it's the best time of the year. Like, it is the most fun time of the year. And it was a different one, not as, perhaps as fun and large as previous graduations, but it was really just as special. Perhaps maybe even just a little bit more. I think a little more intimate too, maybe because of that. I'd also like to thank our chair, Jen Baker. I think for her real thoughtful leadership over the past month, trying to build some consensus, talking, listening. I think Dr. Tejada, who I know that she's spoken with many times over the past month, I've been really encouraged by her tone as well. It's certainly been, a thoughtful, a month of introspection, and I think it's all going to lead to a more productive board and academic senate relationship. I'm inherently just an optimist, but I think there's a lot of optimism to take away from this past month and moving forward. So I just like to thank Jen and Dr. Tejada for their efforts and pushing the campus forward in a productive way. So I will, I guess.
I'm actually back. So.
Oh, excuse me.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah. I was just sitting here glowing because. No, thank you for taking over when my computer just decided to crash on me. No, yeah, I have nothing to add. Lots of wonderful celebrations this last month. I also loved the drive-through graduation. It was very festive and fun, although I think we need to have Kool and the Gang be the music for the whole thing instead of Pomp and Circumstance at the end, where we've 3 hours of Pomp and Circumstance. It's kind of a lot. So, or I'll go stand with the faculty and so they can have good music. So, but yes, a great month, lots of celebrations, lots of just a wonderful end to a crazy, crazy year. I'd hate to have to hop back since I got bumped off when we were talking about agenda. And so I just wanted to, one last thing, I wanted to be sure, two things actually. It's not really an agenda thing, but committee-wise, I wanted to see if we could invite Dr. Munsami, or Sami. Is it Sami or Sammy?
Patricia, Van Leeuwarden Munsami.
Munsami. Okay. Wanted to invite you to be a part of our ad hoc committee that we've put together. So I'll be in touch about what that might look like, and just wanted to invite you to participate. The other thing I wanted to see about, I don't know if it would be an agenda item or just a discussion or something that we need to have with staff, but I did want to try to address the issue of compensating the writing teams with reassigned time for working on the accreditation. So I wanted to see what we could do to bring that back up to the forefront and see if that's something that we can accommodate. So Dr. Kraft, I'll let you decide what's the best way to handle that. And that's all I have to say, I think. Oh, except Bob. I feel like we were doing the Dorothy Gale thing, and we'll miss you most of all, but you're the only one leaving. So but we do so appreciate everything that you have done, keeping us on track, explaining very complex processes and charts and teeny tiny little numbers that none of us can read. And so thank you ever so much. And I think everybody's already said it will be very, very tough shoes, chair, whatever you want to call it, to fill. But hopefully we'll find somebody. And otherwise, we'll hope you'll keep you on speed dial, maybe. Yeah. Thank you very much. So I think that, we have to go back to closed session. Sorry, guys. So, but I think I can announce our next meeting will be, or do I do that after we come back? I guess I do that after we come.
You can do it now.
I can do it now. Okay, so our next regular meeting will be July 8th, and we will be going back into closed session. However, we don't expect any further announcements from closed session so the rest of you are free to go. And I'm assuming we go back to the same link. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I believe, yeah.
All righty then. I will see you all on the other side briefly.
Just to clarify, you will come back to public session, is that correct?
Yes, we will come back just to officially gavel down, although I don't have a gavel, I can mouse down. But then we will officially be done. But
okay, I will hold this meeting open if somebody could text me when you're coming back so that I can race back to my chair.
Will do. All right.
Fully closed.
All right, everyone. We are adjourned to go back into closed session, but not adjourned for the meeting. So I will see you shortly.